So, a couple of years ago, back when Washington, D.C. and metro stations alike really adopted this high security culture, that's where I found myself. I'm on a train leaving Arlington all the way to Friendship Heights for this job thing on this cold Friday morning. And I'm zoning out reading this great book called World War Z, which is way better than the movie, and kind of falling into my own world. Pick my head up and realize there's this elderly lady that sits down next to me. It's not right next to me, but it's close enough that I give her like a head nod and a smile, and she reciprocates, and I zone back out into my book. Eventually I realize I'm coming up pretty close to my stop. I pick my head up and notice that the lady got off the train, but she left her purse on the train. And I look around and this one guy stares at me and he's just like saying with his eyes, "You gotta give that purse back, right?" And I'm like, "Nah, I don't want to do that." Like, to be completely honest, back then I wasn't exactly the nicest guy. I tipped like 10%. I used to send texts to people and say, "I'll be there in 5 minutes," and I would never show up. I was just kind of a jerk. And then I start thinking, this is a good opportunity for me. This is my game changer. This is how I'm gonna go to become this great guy that I kind of always think that I could become. And those silly feelings won me over. And that's when I grab the purse and I jump off the train. And at first I feel great. I'm zigzagging between this crowd and sea of people, and then I eventually track this lady down. I tap her on the shoulder and say, "Ma'am, you left your purse on this train." She replies with, "Why did you take my purse?" I was like, "Hey, it's no big deal." "Hold on, what?" She's like, "My purse, just give it back to me." And she's crying, and freaking out hysterically. And I'm realizing, deal breaker, you're a crazy person. Lady, you left the purse on the train. I was just trying to give it back to you. She's just freaking out, and that's when the two cops show up. Cop looks at me. Cop looks at the lady, looks back at me and says, "Stand right there and don't move." And I was just like, oh, crap, this isn't good. And he's consoling this woman, and I'm trying to interject every like 10 seconds saying, "Officer, please let me explain." And he keeps shutting me down by telling me to shut up and don't move, stay right there. I'm just thinking, well, this isn't good. I figure I can't get a word in edgewise. Eventually he'll let me talk, and then I'll say my side. And then he finally cuts to me and says, "Where the hell are you going? What's your name? Do you have any ID on you? What the hell happened?" And I say, "Officer, there's a perfectly rational explanation. You see, this lady and I were on the train, and this is when this random bystander comes in and cuts me off. And he says, 'Officer, totally saw this guy running with that purse.'" Which was true. But the only thing that came out was, "Are you fucking kidding me?" And I'm furious at this point, and that's when the cop squares up with me, and I square up with him, and we start yelling at each other. He's like, "You need to calm down." I was like, "No, you need to shut up for a second and just let me talk. I've been trying to explain my side of the story for the last 5 minutes. Could you just shut up?" And he says, "You need to relax." And I was like, "You need to brush your teeth, because it smells awful from here." And he's like, "Oh, you're a funny man?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And that's when he just goes, and that's when I hear it. It's a button. I don't know if you guys know what the button is, but the button is a snap that comes from a police officer's utility belt. It secures different things like handcuffs, mace, tasers, gun. That's when I get scared. I get more scared than I've been probably my entire life, because I honestly don't know what's gonna happen next. I don't know how it happened, but we eventually calm things down, and the cop lets me say my side of the story. He wants to confirm by the security footage. We do, and then he finally lets me go. But he apologizes, but he ends it with this weird diss. Like, he says, "Be honest with me, where are you going?" He's like, "I'm going to Friendship Heights. I got this job thing right now." And he's like, "Really? You're not dressed like someone going to Friendship Heights for a job thing." I say, "Well, it's Casual Friday, and I don't have to wear a uniform, officer. Thanks for your service." I get back on the train, and I'm just trying to wrap my head around what happened. How did I go from being this great person to being the worst guy that's ever been on a metro? I had no idea. I was furious about the whole thing for a while. I know one thing. I probably didn't do it for the right reason. I only did it because someone was staring at me about it, and I felt guilty. And I Felt like I was gonna get this big thank you, and I felt entitled to it, which I wasn't. Wasn't a good experience. But I know I don't want to go back to being that jerk of a guy that I was before. I want to try to follow through with this whole thing, and how much worse could it get being a nice guy? It kind of, it was kind of a very tough moment for me. But I know if I keep going to try to be the right person, good person that I know I am, even if I don't get the congratulations that I probably deserve, I feel good about it. That's what probably matters the most. But I definitely don't trust elderly women on metros anymore. That bridge is burned. All right, thank you guys very much.